Hey everybody, welcome back to the garage. It has been a long time since I have put up a video, and I do apologize for that. Finally getting over the holidays and running here, running there, super busy at the shop, so um, finally bringing you a video. I have not given up on Tessie, thankfully. Anxiously getting out here now to get some things done on it finally. I've been kind of picking away here and there, but nothing that was really video worthy. I got a bunch of parts in the meantime. I got a bunch of supplies in the meantime while I've been away. Had some four-wheeler issues, got those fixed. Talk about those in a little bit. But I'm not sure where I actually left off the last video. I didn't review what my last post was. Sorry about the noise. I'm under my furnace right now. But here's Tessie. She's rolling. Less steering, which brings us to today's video. I got my poor man's power steering kit. Sorry about that. Poor man's power steering kit, which I'll show you later today. I got my engine paint. I got degreasers. I got brushes. I got a fuel pump for the engine because I noticed, I don't know if I mentioned on a video or not, but the bottom of the fuel pump is actually damaged on this. I think when it got taken out, it maybe rolled on its side and bent the inlet and outlet. So I got a brand new fuel pump for that. What my big focus has been here has been the steering box. I bought a rebuild kit for this manual box from eBay through Mutton Hollow. They do all Tri-5 Chevy parts. And I'm doing this instead of the power system basically just to prove a theory and test a theory that this car does not actually need power steering with a rebuilt box and a poor man's power steering idler arm. So the kit is very complete. All the bearings, all the races, the seals, everything that you need, absolutely everything, all the packings, everything. This actually only took me about an hour to rebuild once I had it apart completely. Not the easiest thing I've ever done, but by far not the most difficult. The hardest part was actually getting the balls, the little bearing balls, into what that piece is. That actual like U-shaped hoops actually are full of bearing balls, and that is part of that worm gear for the sector shaft. This is all my leftover parts that I use for reference and just picked through to take the best of what I got. So this basically got pulled apart. I put it in the shop that I work at has a CUDA parts washer. If you're not familiar, they're awesome. It took 15 minutes, and this is how it came out. I gave it a quick pre-wash in the manual washer and put it in that CUDA for 15 minutes, and everything came out just beautiful. So I have everything internal in this thing. Also want to mention, if you guys are looking at this kit, the Mutton Hollow kit comes with a very good written directions. The pictures kind of suck, but I figured it out, so I'm sure you guys can do it. I did not use these two bushings or sleeves, whatever you call it, just because the ones that were in my original unit were actually in very good shape. So yeah, and I'm using this red and tacky Lucas. I like this stuff. Is actually has anti-seize in it, which I'm a big fan of. So this is back together, and I got it packed full of grease per the instructions. I need to put the cover on and set the lash for the pitman shaft, and then degrease it and paint it. Obviously this is cut off and not the original length of the sector shaft because I am not using the original steering column. I'm using that 1980 Chevy van column, which I will then, this should give me plenty of length here, and I will actually be putting a rag joint on here. I can grab that actually if you guys care to see that. But I took the rag joint off of the original van steering box, which I wish that steering box would have worked for power, but it's not worth the effort since I have everything for this. but I will make this work. I'll probably end up honing that out or having that machined out so the splines are gone, and then I can actually slide it on this shaft and position it where I want it, bolt it, and I'll probably actually tack weld it too if I think it's necessary. Oops, sorry. But that'll work really well. I've got plenty of meat here on this. I mean, I can go all the way up to there if I have to. So, I mean, which gives me some freedom on the steering column end of it too, as far as depth. You know, how deep do I want to set it to the dash? Because I'm a tall guy. I'm 6'4", and my belly is getting bigger every day, and the column does not have tilt. So I want to have some freedom there as far as how to adjust that. So, like I said, my next step here is I'm going to get the gasket areas prepped, get the top cover on, bolt it down, adjust the lash, run this thing a bunch of times back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I will admit I'm a little bit nervous. I've never really rebuilt a steering box before, and knowing that it is obviously a safety component for not only myself and who's with me, but who everybody else that's on the road, I am a little nervous about it, only because I'd hate for something that I did wrong or incompletely damage or, more importantly, hurt somebody. So there will be many test drives on this before I actually have anybody with me, and I will definitely keep that in mind. I guess one thing that I thought of also is, I guess, what's the difference if I trust an original box that's wore out and that fails versus a box that I rebuilt and it fails? You know, I guess I got to get over that. You know, I mean, this is a pretty overall mechanically a pretty simple rebuild, and I have run this box before I greased it heavily, probably in and out, lock to lock, 5.5 turns, probably 25 times, which probably isn't enough. But this will not. I'll be moving this chassis around a lot manually before it's actually a driver. So if there's an issue, I think it would surface before then. You know, the last car I built was actually a 72 Nova 2-door, and that had power steering on it, original power steering. I did not take that box apart or anything. I didn't do anything with it. I just put it on the car and painted it. And that box actually ended up having a tight spot in it for some reason, and after it was actually a shop roller, I could drive it around the shop parking lots, whatever, while it was getting ready for paint. The end cap, the end cap of that steering box actually busted, like blew right open, like it grenaded while I was driving it. And of course, you know, it's under pressure because it's a power unit. I ended up replacing that unit anyways with another used one that was fine, but I don't know if that unit had water in it and it froze and weakened that, or what it really was. But so the point I'm trying to make, I guess, is that it doesn't, I don't know if it matters so much that I'm a little insecure about rebuilding it versus just leaving an original one alone. I guess either way my chances are the same of a failure. I just don't want to be responsible for it. So I would not be surprised if I abandon this box and buy a new one, just because sometimes I'm like that with safety stuff. I don't want to have that burden if something were to happen. I'd rather have it go into deeper pockets than mine. So anyways, lots to do today. I want to get this buttoned up. I want to look further into the poor man's power steering and see if I want to mount that on the frame. I'm pretty sure there's bearings in there that'll need to be packed, which is fine. I have plenty of grease for that. I want to get the starter final cleaned up and maybe even paint that today. And I would like to get, this is something else I did too while I've been away. Got the engine kind of sort of tore down. I'm still undecided about what I want to do with the intake. The slacker side of me wants to just leave it on there and work with it and make it work for the 64 and prior looking engine. I figured that I could put PVC valve and a filler in my scripted valve covers, and it wouldn't hurt my feelings a whole lot. Only because I know this engine was apart and it was rebuilt and it's not leaking. I don't really want to mess with the intake gaskets, even though that is, from what I'm told, a relatively easy thing to do is intake gaskets. But like I've told you guys before, I'm not really a mechanic. This is the first time that I'm doing this, and I'm doing it on my own to save myself a buck and to learn as I go. And I've been looking online, and it is really hard to find an intake with an oil filler in it for a 4-barrel. Now, I do actually have one. I have one here that I have to investigate today, but I think my actual bore on the original 1964 intake is much smaller than this. And I don't know if this quadrajet will actually bolt to that or not. I don't know. So those are something I'm going to investigate today. But the other thing on the list today is I do actually want to get this thing wire wheeled, degreased, and ready for prime and paint. I'm leaving the distributor in it for now, unless I end up switching the intake. Obviously that's got to come out. That I may have one of my mechanic friends come and assist me with, because that's, again, something I've never messed with. I don't know if it's a simple pull it out, drop it in kind of thing. I know that there's timing involved, and I would have to mark everything, and that I have no problem with doing. But I did pick up rattle can orange for it, only because for touch-up reasons, and I just don't feel like having to get a paint gun dirty to do this. I mean, I've always just rattle canned my engines and never had a problem. But I do prime them first, because then the orange covers a lot better, in my opinion. So I know for sure these valve covers are going to go bye-bye, so I'm not going to waste any time on those. I have valve cover gaskets on order, some rubber ones with a metal core. I assume those would be good. So I got a lot of work to do. I won't get it all done today, but I'm just really happy to be out in the shop today and getting some stuff done. And even if I don't get anything done, I'm still really glad to be out in the shop for a change. So yeah, we're well on our way. Now, four-wheelers, the next project, I guess. I had an issue with this. Wouldn't start, wouldn't run. If I started it, it wouldn't run decent. So I ended up taking the carburetor apart, cleaning it out. Runs way better, still wouldn't start for shit. So I replaced the battery. That is cured. And then once I got it running, then the winch stopped working. Okay, well then there's a solenoid for the winch that I thought was bad. Replaced it. It worked a couple times, stopped working. All the replacement solenoid was bad. Put the original solenoid back on. The winch works, but it's full-time power, which it should not be. So my solenoid is still bad, but it works. And then I also, the butterfly switch for the winch was not working correctly, so I replaced it with the thumb switch on the handlebars here, which brings it into modern times. That butterfly switch always was a knee knocker anyways. I had it mounted there. So now this thing works, and it's ready to plow snow, finally, now that it's almost February. Luckily we haven't actually had much snow here, so with that, that's a pretty lengthy update and kind of boring, so I apologize for that. But like I said, just really excited to be out here today, and happy to bring you guys along. I haven't checked my subscribers. I'm sure some of you probably jumped ship. Maybe not. If not, great. Thank you so much. If so, I don't blame you. You know, I don't consider myself a real big hitter in the garage gang as far as views and subscribers and such, but the few that are very loyal to me, I appreciate it, because you always seem to comment and always give me the thumbs up, and I do appreciate that. That keeps me motivated to want to pick the camera up instead of just get this done and, you know, and move on. So I'm happy to get back out in the garage today, and I'll bring you some more videos as the day goes by. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend.